spoilers for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay, now, say what you want. This show might seem a little pointless, considering we know what happens to Obi-Wan Kenobi eventually in the original trilogy. This being a TV show set between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. But you know what? It does bring a little bit more to the whole Star Wars story, even if it's not that much. Overall, I did enjoy this limited series. First of all, the characters. It gives a little bit more insight into what these characters are thinking. It's mostly a cast of characters that we've seen before. Obi-Wan Kenobi, once again played by Ewan McGregor, starts off the show pretty much without hope. You know, they lost the Clone Wars. He's pretty much like Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi at the beginning of this show. Can't really blame him, but I like the progress he makes. He learns to regain his hope and to fight for people again after the Grand Inquisitors made it tough for all Force-sensitive people to have any hope and to help each other out. Darth Vader was terrifying in this show. I mean, the savagery that this guy showed. Now, this is Darth Vader, much younger than he was in the original trilogy. 9 to 10 years before the original trilogy happens. He's much more angry. He shows a lot more power. This is Darth Vader at his most powerful, and they did a good job conveying that. Hayden Christensen himself did a good job conveying the amount of the humongous level of anger and hatred that's running through this guy. I'm so glad he came back too. Being a kid who grew up with the prequel trilogy, this was a treat for me. This is my own nostalgia. The girl who plays, I'm gonna call her Little Leia, she did a surprisingly very well done job as Leia. She embodied her really well. She embodied a child Leia very well. I think Carrie Fisher, if she were still with us today, would very much approve. And Little Leia was also rather funny at times. A lot of the humor from the show came from her, for the most part. Reva, a new character in Star Wars, she's an Inquisitor. She had a lot of anger to show herself. She was ruthless with her revenge quest against, not really Obi-Wan, but Darth Vader. Just an interesting twist. I'm gonna assume we will see more of her in the future. Disney will probably want to do more with her. But yeah, maybe she could be a little more compelling in whatever she appears in next. I will admit, not the most compelling story arc for her in the show, but it's a lot of interesting directions they could go in with her character, considering where she ended up by the end of the show. She's really no longer an Inquisitor. But she's not exactly fighting for the good guys either. She's finding her own path. Tala, the Imperial defector, this is not the first time we've seen such a thing happen. I mean, you have Finn in the sequel trilogy, which I don't think we got too much of before with other Imperial defectors like Finn. I mean, Finn's character kind of gets less and less attention in the sequels. I mean, he's a big focus in The Force Awakens. His story kind of continues in The Last Jedi. Not as compelling though. And then The Rise of Skywalker, just nothing. But I'm glad we got to delve into Tala's character of reasoning why she left the Imperials and she's now helping the Jedi. She was a very good character on the show. Now, in terms of the continuity, it's not really an issue. Honestly, I really don't think it is. I mean, in terms of the placement of the show within the Star Wars timeline, doesn't really have a very big impact on the other movies. I mean, when it comes to breaking continuity, it really doesn't do that. It's kind of harmless when it comes to that. But in a way, it kind of adds context a little bit. It does add a little bit to the continuity, mainly through the dialogue, I noticed. Certain characters like Obi-Wan or Darth Vader, what they say to each other, it kind of builds upon where their heads are at in the next movie, like A New Hope. I mean, Obi-Wan realizing, I can't bring my friend back. He is really, truly gone. And then saying, farewell, Darth. Calls him Darth. That's some good context as to why he calls him Darth in A New Hope. Because before that, it's like, wait, why does he call him Darth? You know, I mean, it's a little weird, I guess. But after seeing that and the incredible finale that we got, that's an example of a little detail that kind of tells a lot. Some Easter eggs and references. Hello there. He said hello there again. I chuckled. I mean, I say hello there all the time, just in general, when socializing with people. Hello there. And so, yeah, that was a joy to hear. Qui-Gon Jinn. I mean, Liam Neeson actually returned. What a fan-pleasing way of ending the show that was. Kumail Nanjiani. I gotta say, when I saw his face on screen in this show, I burst out laughing. Because, I don't know, he's funny. He's a funny guy. To see him in Star Wars, just see him alone, just in Star Wars alone, is just gets a laugh out of me. And he was pretty funny in this show. Some negatives I do have about this show, though. There were some pretty poorly shot moments in each episode. Or maybe not each episode, just some episodes, maybe, if not all of them. I mean, there were moments in the show where they're shooting an action sequence and there's some blocking or action moves that really weren't executed well. I think the biggest offender of that would be in any scene where little Leia is getting chased by another character or characters. I mean, this girl is going at a speed of like 1 mile per hour when she starts running. And the characters that are trying to catch up to her are so like, just come across as just so weirdly incompetent when trying to catch her. She's going like this. And then you got Obi-Wan behind her, just like, Leia! Leia! Also, but you know, that doesn't really, at least for me, it doesn't really ruin the experience of watching this show. I can look past it. I can forgive stuff like that. It doesn't bother me because I like the story. I like the engaging story. But I will admit, this story does get a little slow. In fact, I noticed watching the last 2 episodes, there were more than once I was thinking to myself, all right, let's move this along. So overall, yes, I did like this show. I know this. I'm gonna get to this in a second. I know there's a lot of people who are just like, they saw the show and are just like, no. But I like the story, even if it's a little pointless, or we know what happens before and afterwards. It doesn't make much of an impact, but it does give a lot more, or even a little more insight into the characters' heads. It kind of fills the gaps a little bit for the movies. And so I shall give Obi-Wan Kenobi an 8 out of 10. I don't care. It's getting an 8 from me, all right? It's done. I'm doing that. I'm doing it. I'm giving it an 8. Let me just, before I close this video off, let me just talk about something that I'm just gonna address this one time, like really address it this one time, and maybe I won't again, but I just gotta really talk about this. If you didn't like the show, that's fine. But guys, as a Star Wars fan base, and I love Star Wars, but just try to acknowledge that the makers of this new Star Wars content that we're getting are trying. They themselves were fans. They're listening to you guys. So if we keep getting extreme, negative, harsh reactions, it's gonna impact Disney's decisions on what they're gonna make next. I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to be a movie, right? I mean, some years ago it was gonna be part of the collection of Star Wars story movies, the standalone movies like Rogue One and Solo. But then Solo didn't perform well at the box office. Nobody wanted to see it because like, that's not my Han Solo, and so the box office wasn't great for that movie. So they scrapped the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie and they turned it into a 6-part show, which everybody was dying to see. And then the show came out and then people were just like, no, this sucks. I mean, just be a little more open-minded to the positives. Just go back and watch the Obi-Wan Kenobi. Go back and watch, I don't know, whatever, The Force Awakens. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the TV show. This is something everybody has been waiting for in the Star Wars fan base. Anyway, that's my review of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Comment if you want on this video. But keep it civil. Tell me what you think. Tell me what positives you like. I'll check out your comments, and I'll see you at the next react. That is the end of my review for Obi-Wan Kenobi.